Hi, friends! Today I will be telling you the story of a ghost boy in a haunted school. Danny hated staying late at school. When the hallways emptied and the teachers packed up for the night, the whole place felt different. The lights flickered more than usual. The janitor's mop squeaked across the tiles, and the air felt heavier. But today, he had no choice. His mom had mixed up her schedule, and he had to wait an extra hour before she could pick him up. So he sat in the library, doodling in the margins of his math homework, counting down the minutes. That's when he heard it. A whisper. Not a voice exactly. More like the sound of someone breathing a word just under their breath. He looked up, expecting to see Ms. Patel, the librarian, but she wasn't there. The library was empty, except for him. But then he heard it again. This time it was coming from the hallway. Danny stood up, pushing his chair in slowly. He wasn't scared, not really, just curious. He peeked out into the hallway. At first it looked normal. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly. But then he saw him, a boy, standing at the far end of the hall. The boy was wearing a faded school uniform, the kind their school stopped using years ago. But the weirdest part? Danny didn't recognize him. And in a school as small as theirs, Danny knew everyone. The boy didn't move. He just stood there, watching. Danny swallowed hard. Hey, he called. The boy tilted his head like he was listening, but he didn't answer. Instead, he turned and walked around the corner. Danny hesitated. Then, before he could stop himself, he followed. When he turned the corner, the hallway was empty. Danny frowned. There were no doors nearby, nowhere the boy could have gone. And yet he had vanished. Then the whisper came again. Closer this time. Danny spun around. The boy was standing at the opposite end of the hall now, by the stairwell. His expression was unreadable, but there was something sad about the way he stood, like he was waiting for something. Danny's legs felt heavy, but he forced himself to move forward. "Who are you?" he asked. The boy didn't answer. Instead, he raised his hand and pointed to the stairs. Danny followed the gesture, looking toward the stairwell. There was nothing there, just the way down to the front entrance and the way up to the old, locked-off third floor. Danny turned back to the boy, but he was gone. A chill ran up Danny's spine. The janitor's cart squeaked in the distance, but everything else was silent. Then out of nowhere, the words came, soft and slow, like the whisper of a breeze. "Find me." Danny's breath caught. His feet moved before his brain could catch up, leading him up the stairs to the third floor. The door at the top had a big, rusty lock on it. Nobody went up there. It was abandoned years ago after a pipe burst, making the floor unsafe. But something was different now. The lock was open. The door was slightly ajar. Danny's hand trembled as he pushed it open. The third floor was dark, the windows covered in dust. Rows of old desks stood frozen in time, covered in cobwebs. It smelled of old paper and something else, something forgotten. And then Danny saw it. A single desk pushed into the corner. On its surface, scratched into the wood, was a name. Danny's eyes widened. Elliot. He had heard that name before. His older cousin once told him a story about a boy who went missing years ago, a student, a kid who had never come home. Danny turned, his heart pounding. The air around him felt thick, like the whole school was waiting. And then, just for a second, he saw him. Elliot stood by the window, his outline faint. His lips moved, but no sound came out. But Danny understood. He wanted to be remembered. Danny swallowed hard. "I won't forget you," he whispered. The air shifted. The weight in the room lifted, just a little. And when Danny blinked, Elliot was gone. And maybe now he could finally rest.